Voters consistently say they are extremely concerned about inflation and the rising cost of everything from milk to cars. So given that inflation is currently a very complex global issue, does Congress have a role to play in reining in these rising prices? Dr. Jones, this question will go to you first.
I 100% think that Congress can do the right thing on this issue and has a lot of power with it. As you said, this is a global issue. It's an issue that came after the pandemic. It's one that does need us to bring our supply chains back home, makes us make sure that we need to bring jobs back to our district and lower the costs here in our district. One of the things that I focus on is a federal fire insurance plan, because I know that there are people in our district that are paying way too much. They used to pay $1,000 a year, now they're paying over $10,000 a year. I want to lower that cost for them and help them with that cost. The cost of health care is way too much. That's why I think being able to negotiate down drug prices is a big deal. My opponent feels differently. He feels that taking money from pharmaceutical companies and voting their interests and making it so that children can have access to lower cost insulin is the way to go. I think we need something different. I think that approach is the cancer, and we actually need the cure. And the cure is to not have continuous politicians running for office, not focusing on our issues, but focusing on themselves.
Assemblymember Kiley, does Congress have a role to play in inflation and controlling costs?
Yes, and the first thing to do is to stop the out-of-control spending. You know, folks in our district and across the country are struggling mightily under the weight of absolutely record inflation, record gas prices, record grocery prices. And even Barack Obama's top economic advisor said at the time, don't spend all that money. Don't go on a $4 trillion spending spree. This was Barack Obama's top economic advisor. Now, my opponent worked in the Obama-Biden administration. He spent a good deal of his career as a lawyer, as a political staffer, in Washington, D.C. And he supported and celebrated that $4 trillion, please let me finish my answer, that $4 trillion in spending that even Barack Obama's top economic advisor warned against. And he did say, as the very first thing when he launched his campaign, that he needed to keep his party in power in the House, which would mean keep Pelosi as Speaker, so they can make, this is an exact quote, even more changes. So what you can count on if he's elected is even more out-of-control spending. I'm going to rein in spending. I'm going to roll back regulations. And I'm going to pursue American energy independence so that we can set our own gas prices here and not be dependent on foreign sources.
I have a follow-up for you, and then I'll give you a chance to rebut. Yeah. What specifically would you cut? If you're talking
well, have you taken a look at the federal budget? There is so much waste, fraud, and abuse. It is absolutely unbelievable. And let's just look at this $4 trillion spending plan that my opponent supported each and every step of the way. I mean, you had money that went to golf courses. You had money that went to luxury hotels. You had these stimulus payments that went to prisoners. The Boston Marathon runner got one of these stimulus payments. Or if you can look across every single agency. Or, for example, the 87,000 IRS agents that this new bill is going to hire because of the new bill that was just signed into law. My opponent supported that. One of the first votes that I would take in Congress is to repeal those 87,000 IRS agents.
Thank you. Dr. Jones, your response.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think my opponent would be as effective in Congress as he was effective in the Assembly. He's run on constant things and pretty much either gotten nothing done or voted the interests of the people that have paid him money. First and foremost, I am a physician, internal medicine doctor, Navy veteran. I was endorsed by the largest police officers organization in the country, PORAC, which demonstrates that the ads that have been run against me are complete lies, just like pretty much every single word that's come out of my opponent's mouth. I was not a staffer in the Obama administration. I was a White House fellow. And the bigger picture here is that I have an opponent that wants to focus more on distractions than actual policies. You had mentioned yourself and asked him multiple times what he would actually do. He has no plan. He has no platform, and that's all he has are lies.
Can I have a rebuttal to that? I just got to say, I mean, this is a candidate who doesn't even live in our district, and who has now run for Congress in multiple districts that he doesn't actually live in. And he started his campaign by saying that the only way he was ever going to be able to get anything done and make the changes that he wants is if his party stayed in power. I actually have a record of getting legislation passed right there, as a member of the minority.
That was not a rebuttal. That was another accusation. Do you live in the district?
I moved into this area 5 years ago. I've been here for the last 5 years. And I think the bigger picture here that my opponent wants to distract people from is that the whole time I was taking care of people with respect to their health care, he was standing with insurrectionists and neo-Nazis. And I think at the end of the day, what we need to focus on are people that have done things in this district, care about this district. I've never seen someone from a place do so little for it. He's voted against multiple things that actually could help people keep our kids safe.
Okay.